Living through this present crisis of the pandemic, my dear friends, often we talk about what's happening in the world, in different countries, in different lands. Just as much as we talk about countries and lands and people, we also talk about the leaders who are called to manage and to guide the people out of this problem. Now, as we talk about leaders, it is important that we try to get into the very Christian idea of what it means to be a leader. Now, when you read the gospel passage today as well as the readings for the fourth Sunday of Easter, we can clearly see that Jesus is calling himself a shepherd. And today, specifically having said that I am the good shepherd, he also says I am the gate through which the sheep come in and go out. And he also very correctly says, all those who have come before me are rogues and robbers. He doesn't mince his words. Now, why is he calling himself the shepherd? Obviously, a shepherd is needed only for sheep. We have to ask the question, why is he calling the people of God sheep? He doesn't call them they are tigers or they are lions or they are cows or goats, but he calls them sheep. Why? Because in the animal world, they say sheep are supposed to be the most naive, most gullible animal. They do not see themselves, they do not analyze themselves, they just follow the shepherd. They are very, very narrow-minded in their judgment. My dear friends, when you think of the people in the world today, we are worse than sheep. Why? The only example is that when you look around the world today in the political and social analysis of the countries and the nations, we really see that most unsuitable men and women become leaders. Most unworthy of them become ministers. Most unworthy of them are called to lead countries, nations, and peoples. Who elect them? It is the people. We have to remember, in a socio-psychological analysis of the human behavior, it goes without saying, people make the most or least educated judgment about their leaders. Mind you, in the history of the world, one of the worst leaders that the history of the world has ever had is Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was elected into power with a grand majority. It is the people who elected him. And it continues on. History repeats itself. Always people make the worst judgment when it comes to electing their leaders. Why? They are so naive, they are so gullible, they can all be taken for a ride. You only have to see how people are taken into real deception by leaders, especially the political and religious leaders today. When you go into the history and also normal sociological understanding of human behavior, you can see that one of those outstanding proponents of political theories is Machiavelli. Now, Machiavelli's theories of politics is known in the entire world. What he says basically is that you repeat a lie, you continue to say the same thing which is a lie, but it becomes the truth in the eyes of the people. And naturally, Machiavelli politics is what is so prevalent in the world today. Why? Because we are sheep, we are naive, we are so gullible, we can be taken for a ride. And also, another aspect of this is in the psychology of marketing. Now, in the advertisement world and also in marketing products, whatever it is, even it can be the worst of the products that you can ever think of in any way, what needs to be done is to somehow continue to say that this is the best product and people run to buy them. We are really sheep. We have proved beyond any doubt that we are sheep who need shepherds, not leaders, not political, diplomatic, shrewd politicians. That is why when Jesus calls himself the shepherd, he refers to the people of Israel as sheep because they are what they are, and also his calling himself the shepherd is as against the political and religious leaders of his time. Because the political leaders of his time were so shrewd, so capable, so efficient in taking the people for a ride. People had, especially because of the Roman Empire and also their henchmen, the people of Israel had come to realize that they are now like sheep. They don't have proper leaders. They were there, but they were not shepherds. That's why Jesus called himself a shepherd. Who is a shepherd? A shepherd is someone who is giving his life for his sheep. And also he goes beyond that and he says, I am the gate. When he refers himself as the gate of the sheep, he refers to the reality of a good shepherd who will never allow any enemy to come inside the sheepfold and also would not allow any sheep to go out of the sheepfold. The history of the people of Israel tells us the shepherds were people who were working 24/7. And also they were giving their life for the sheep, the herd of sheep they had. And they would sleep across the gate so that sheep are always protected. Now, my dear friends, in the history of the church and in the history of the political realities, religious and political leaders have become such contradictions when it comes to taking care of their people. They say the greatest and the worst lies, they have the worst corruption, they have the worst deception, and they play their game so diplomatically. That is why, my dear friends, a great thinker like Bertrand Russell and people who have thought about this world, they say diplomacy didn't work when it comes to all kinds of wars that the world has ever had. Why? Because the truth is always buried under diplomatic coverings. Now Jesus calls himself a shepherd, and he goes beyond that, as I said, and calls himself the gate of the sheep, because it is only a shepherd who will be there totally, completely for the sheep. Now, when you think of leaders in the world today, my dear friends, there is this very important understanding of leadership. In the science of psychology, there is a saying, if I am an individual who takes up a leadership, if my leadership is bigger and greater than my own inner self, then I can always do a lot of damage to the people through my leadership, through my position, through my designation. We often see that when insecure men, people who are uneducated, people who are insincere, when they are in leadership positions, they use their positions to exploit them and lead people into corruption, give the worst example of leadership, and they can thrive because we do not know whether they are true to themselves, true to their God, or true to their people. We may know sometimes individually, but not as collective groups. As sheep, we are the worst in that sense. And also, the other side of the coin is that when you have leaders who are deep down, who have greater inner personalities, when there are people who are greater than their positions, whether you're a president, prime minister, leader, CEO, manager, or whatever the position that you hold, if you have a greater personal self, then you will never use your position or your designation to exploit people, exploit a country, exploit the people's wealth. Such people only can become shepherds, because for them, their inner self is greater than their jobs or their work. Jesus Christ, when you look at him, you can see that he was a son of God. He could have done anything as to show that he was the greatest leader. But he did the least thing in order to pump himself up. All what he wanted was the best for his sheep. So therefore, my dear friends, you and I today, especially celebrating this Good Shepherd Sunday, we ask ourselves, am I taking care of the sheep in my childhood? Am I taking care of the employees, the sheep in them? Do I commit myself totally for my own sheep? Today, as we celebrate Good Shepherd Sunday, it is important that we stand back and ask ourselves, am I a shepherd in every sense of the word? Am I a person who has given myself totally for my people, for my children, for my family, for my students, whatever the work, whatever the job, has that taken me over, or I have taken over my job or my profession? Am I a leader, or am I a shepherd in every sense of the term? Amen. Thank you.